paper. Unfortunately, one of the speakers not here yet. Jackson Miyagi is one of the speakers and one of the pioneers as well in this space, because he did a lot as well in the Pacific. He was supposed to talk about the regional cooperation and frameworks for digital governance in the Pacific Islands. So hopefully he will join us later. But I would like to call upon Mele Tavake. He is our PECA-GF 2024 fellow. He's supposed to be the president, the Tonga Women in ICT, SELU, should be here, but she's not here due to other commitments. Well, thank you, Mele, for taking up the role. So I'd like to call Mele to please make yourself here to the podium and present the Tongan digital inclusion and capacity building. Thank you.
Mahaloa lele, and greetings to you all. My name is Mele Tavake, and I'm currently working for Tonga Women in ICT. And thank you to PASOK for allowing me to be here as a PASOK fellow. I acknowledge also TWIC board members that are here in the room, Dr. Tankina Steen. And I'm happy to present the work Tonga Women in ICT does in Tonga around digital literacy and capacity building, inclusion and capacity building in the Pacific, particularly in Tonga, to ensure that all communities are equipped to participate in the digital economy. Before I start on with my presentation, I would like to give you all a little brief about our Tonga Women in ICT and how it started. Tonga Women in ICT was established in 2018. It was started with a group, 5 women. This little group were 5 women. These 5 women, they came up with an idea. How are they going to help Tonga, especially for women? All of them, they're from different organizations, and they can see how those organizations underestimating women. They said that all the works in this organization, only men can do it. But these women, they came up together for a cup of tea, and that's the thing they would discuss. How are they going to change Tonga, especially for the women? They came up with a little name. They said, maybe we should name ourselves as a TWIC. So TWIC stands for Tonga Women in ICT. The reason why they named the little group as Tonga Women in ICT, because all these women, they came from an IT field. All those churches and stuff, it was taken from their own pocket. There was no budget in this time until they all became financially stable and they managed to register Tonga Women in ICT in 2021. 2021, there were over members, 30 members. I can say, without these women, I cannot stand in front of you guys here today. And I can say that these women, they are digital warriors. Why? Because they encourage us women to be more mindful. Not only that, but they encourage us to be smart when using space online, especially ICT. Tonga Women in ICT came up with a theme, which is strengthening digital governance and resilience in Tonga, with a focus on these areas. First, digital inclusion, capacity building, and innovations and entrepreneurship. Tonga Women in ICT's mission and vision. Their mission is to empowering women in Tonga through ICT in a range of exciting ways and fully participants in the ICT industry. The vision is for a digitally inclusive resilience Tonga, which means allowing women and girls to enter the industry without fear or discrimination or persecution, always allowing them to improve it. That vision and mission are to accomplish our objectives, which are to promote digital literacy, to build capacity for women in ICT, and to foster innovation and entrepreneurship. TWIC's dedication is to foster digital inclusion and building capacity across various age groups in Tonga. We engage people of all ages through workshops, trainings, and training of the trainer, programs to ensure digital skills and accessible to students. Not only the students, but the young students, youth, and also people that are older in the community. Through adopting a multi-stakeholder approach, we aim to enable innovation and entrepreneurship, which are currently limited in Tonga. And through these efforts, we hope to inspire locally driving technical, ICT, and internet solutions that strengthen digital governance and resilience in the Pacific Islands. For the key initiatives on digital inclusion programs, as I mentioned above, one of our key initiatives is engaging all ages through workshop trainings, awareness, and stuff. Secondly is making digital inclusively fun through interactive and enjoyable learning experiences to maintain interest and promote sustainable engagement. Firstly, in digital literacy. Also, Tonga Women in ICT, we do competition, a lot of competition. There was one competition that was on last month, which is an essay competition. The topic for it was Bridging Divide and Empowering Youth through Digital Skills and Innovation and Digital Entrepreneurship. For our capacity building efforts, we do a lot of workshops, as I mentioned above, a lot of trainings that's what we do to strengthen our capacity building in Tonga. We do a lot of capacity building activities to enhance our digital skills across the community. Through that, we teach in trainings, basic training on Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Not only that, but are promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. We conduct a multi-stakeholder approach through collaborating with various stakeholders to create a supportive environment for innovation and entrepreneurship in Tonga. For locally driven solutions, we encourage the development of Tonga technical, ICT, and internet solution, fostering a sense of ownership and capability within the community. These are images from some of the events that we conducted this year. We invited and encourage you all to join us in our mission to empower the Pacific Islands through digital inclusion and capacity building. Our goals and impacts through our initiatives, tweaked aim to enhance digital literacy and skills across all groups in Tongatapu and also the outer island. Not only that, but the outer island in Tongatapu, which is Vava'o, Hapai, Ewa, and the Tuniua. We enhance digital literacy and skills across all ages group in Tonga, foster a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship by providing a space. We also strengthen the resilience of digital governance, working together with other stakeholders. The challenges that we are usually faced are funding. We always lack in funding. Skills development, we always wanted to build Tonga women in ICT skills development all the time. And the last, we are short staffed. There's only 2 full-time staff. Everyone else, they're part-time. So we are short staffed. And the need for capacity building of our team is also important. And for our future plans, we wanted to expanding our programs to the outer island, Vava'o, Hapai, Ewa, and the Tuniua. We wanted to do and enhance our partnership within the Tongatapu and also across the Pacific Island, and continuous support for innovation and resilience. Malo apito.
Thank you very much, Mele, for that fruitful presentation. Any questions for Mele? But we can also ask Mele questions after the next speaker because we run out of time. If you have questions for Mele now, you can ask after Andrew from China. So I'd like to call Nancy, our next speaker, for her presentation, please.
Kia ora, good day. My name is Nancy. I'm from Papua New Guinea. I'm a fellow for the Asia Pacific Regional Internet Governance and also for the Pacific IGF. I currently work with a Department of Information and Communication and Technology in Papua New Guinea. Under the ICT Ministry, we have the regulator and policy. So I come under the policy. Before I came up here, I was just talking to my fellow from PNG, Russell, that, after usually in PNG, after every workshop or forum that we held, after the lunchtime, the food usually kills the people, so it's the boring part of the session. So I hope I don't make it boring. I know I have a lot of slides, but they're just bullet points. So. Yes. So my presentation is going to be about data governance, and that's data governance report from public sector in Papua New Guinea. So currently we don't have any act, or we also don't have any data governance national policy. Okay, the purpose of the assessment report was to evaluate the current data governance practices across the whole of government, that's all of government approach, to identify strength, weakness, and provide accountable recommendations to enhance best practices of data management, ensure data quality, and comply with regular requirements. So this assessment aims to support strategic decision-making, improve data integrity, and foster a culture of effective data stewardship across all of government. Because in PNG, currently, we don't have any national act to protect our data or even govern our data. And also, we don't have any national policy in place. So currently, the department that I worked with, we have just got our first data governance and data protection policy that was approved, and we're in the stage of drafting instructions for a act. The overview of the data governance framework from in the public sector that we're driving is, so the department coordinate from a national level. And so what is data governance, and what is data governance looks like in any organization or any person's point of view? Obviously, a program that focuses on privacy, compliance, security, and how it looks different from one that may exist to support data warehouse and business intelligence, and a program concentrating on architecture or integration may involve different participants. Then that one whose goal involve data quality. Whatever you focus your effort on, I think we need to define for our participant exactly what we at our national level in PNG mean by data governance. So we decided to choose our words carefully and must resonate back to PNG culture and environment if this is to be accepted, knowing very well that data governance is a new concept in the public sector and a new agenda also. Although the practice has been around, but not much has been researched and talked about data governance. So it means different things to different people or organizations inside the public sector back in Papua New Guinea. So from our hand, we think that it is important to present a definition that implies to what we are trying to accomplish. So basically we said data governance is defined through our structure at the national level within PNG, and also to what we want to achieve across the public sector or all of government approach. So it's a set of principles, policies, process aimed at ensuring data is managed effectively, securely, and responsibly throughout its life cycle. So one of the effort that the department did was we've been holding workshops throughout the year. The data governance division that I worked with, I worked as an assistant data governance manager, and my role is to lead data governance all across government, private government sector. So we have all held a couple of workshops throughout the 4 years, but most of the workshop, it was more about us telling the public sector what we want them to do and what we are doing. And we didn't listen about what they wanted to do and see how they're managing their data. So we had a workshop, a national workshop on the 4th and 5th of June in Port Moresby. That's the total number of participants. Because it's a government workshop, we have about 55 total agencies, all government departments and national agencies with about 101 participants. During the workshop, we tried to assess by giving the stakeholders chances to speak, so we get to define and understand what they do in regard to data governance within their own department. The key components of data governance assessment during the workshop that we came to see was we've categorized it under 3 categories. The first one is institutional framework, and then oversight and accountability, legal and regulatory framework. The assessment overview of the report that came out from that, we also have a online survey, but the survey with the workshop, we did a national data governance baseline report that is currently still in drafting. So I'm only presenting for the workshop that we did. The assessment objective of the report was to promote responsible data management across public sector, enhance stakeholder collaboration, understand the current data governance landscape across the public sector. The methodology of the assessment was actually the workshop, because that was the only place, like a platform, that we could understand what other public sectors were doing in regard to data governance across all of government approach. So that's the key findings. So it was very interesting during, while we were watching, just sitting at the back and seeing all the government departments doing their presentations on how they manage their data. 30% of the agencies have some form of data governance practices. That includes data collection methods, storage, infrastructure, data sharing cost and optimization, data accessibility and availability. Under oversight and accountability, 50% of the stakeholders or the agencies have data protection measures included. That includes access control, which is the main form, regular security assessment, and 20% is compliance. So you can see that other 80% are unsure of regulatory requirements or national standards and best practices. We also have data retention and archiving. So most agencies, like probably 90% of agencies, like formal guidelines. Under the legal and regulatory framework, 60% use data security measures. Backup and disaster recovery was very little. We couldn't even hear a lot of them say anything about backup and disaster recovery. Data sharing, absence of data sharing guidelines and policies was mentioned, nothing. So we have found out that you can see that most of the things was just technical, nothing much about data governance. So this is the maturity model that we have to measure across. We're still developing it, and it's taking cue from the Kenya data governance module. It's tailored for the public sector in PNG, not the private, only public sector. It should be simple and adaptable to read, adaptable to the current environment. It's quite, the level stops at 5, but I'm just putting this as an example. Still in progress for contextualizing, and we need to include our national pillars like the institutional framework, oversight and accountability, technical and regulatory framework, and have some index to measure it. The maturity model is also taking insight from the PNG Digital Government Act 2022, Digital Government Plan 2023 to 2027, the Medium-Term Development Plan, and the National Data Governance and Data Protection Policy, which was just approved. So these are the recommendations that we have come up with from the workshop that was held, still under the 3 categories of institutional framework, oversight, accountability, and legal and regulatory framework. So under the institutional framework, we have standards and framework. These are the recommendations from us, Department of ICT, to all the stakeholders that have participated and presented. We've seen that these are the things that are missing within their data governance practices. So the standards and framework develop and implement data governance and protection policy within their own sector. Under oversight and accountability, increase the frequency of data governance review and audit. Training and support is also one of the bigger things that we've laid. Develop data protection legislation. Most departments doesn't have any internal policies in regard to data governance or any legislation like the country. We don't have any yet. Enhance data protection measures. Enhance compliance with regulatory requirements. The next step from after the workshop after measuring all the, doing the assessment, we have, from the department, we have decided the next step was to establish a data governance working group, coordinate and implement at the national level. Thank you. I also have something to say. So lastly, from a Asia Pacific IGF fellow and a Pacific IGF fellow, not from my employer as a government employee. In IGF, we promote multi-stakeholderism. I think in my country, we need more awareness on IGF for private sectors and civil society to know the importance of this in the government policy, because my department does the national policies for every ICT. And we have seen lack of private sector business organizations coming in to take part for the policy. And when the policy is abolished and becomes policy or even the act, they get left out. And that's one of the bigger things. And then they are not included in, and that's where so many problems come from. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy, for that sharing of insights about data governance. And it's very important these times with internet governance that sometimes we focus so much on the technical side, but when it comes to the layer 7 with the applications and data transferring, data sharing, that's where the main problem comes in. So, but it's good to see that PNG started their assessment data governance. I think some countries in the Pacific, they did that as well. But it's good that you consider the private sector, because with this forum, we promote the multi-stakeholderism. That was my question I'm gonna ask, what about the private sector? But it's good that you addressed it before you finish. So the next speaker, it's Andrew. Andrew is from China, and he is leading the China IGF. We give him the opportunity now because we don't have our another speaker is not here. After him, then we can open the floor to some questions. I have some questions for Mel as well. Please populate your questions for this session. We have so much time. So this is why we're here, so we can share our insights, you know, your strengths and other people's weaknesses, maybe that can match and solve the problem. So please, don't be shy. Over to Andrew.
Where is the controller? All right, let me try this a little bit to see if it works. All right. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. First of all, self-introduction. My name is, actually, my Chinese name is Guo Feng. Andrew is my English name given by my, actually by my middle school teacher, but I haven't used it very much. All of you can call me Feng, F-E-N-G. So I'm from the China IGF. But the work of China IGF is my part-time job. My primary position is from the China Academy of ICT, which is a research branch under the government, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of China. So I'm also serve as the China's advisory representative of Governmental Advisory Committee in the ICANN. So I'm currently the participating ICANN meetings regularly. So I'm glad to be here to attend this Pacific IGF. It's a very good opportunity for me to interact with you and to learn from you, and find the community of Pacific IGF is full of energy, full of motivation, and with solidarity. So I think I can take this opportunity to most of important is to learn from you and share with you some activities and experience of the China IGF. So I'll give you the presentation of the overview of China IGF. So first of all, who we are. So we are the China IGF. So many of you may know that the UN IGF, they encouraged the regional and national IGF to be established within a country, within a territory, or within a region. So we are IGF. We are a bottom-up and open platform for exchanges and consultations on the internet governance-related issues. And our mission is to promote the Chinese internet community's engagement into the global internet governance process. And we have a secretariat. The secretariat is taken by the Internet Society of China. The Internet Society of China is like a carrier for the China IGF. So we established the China IGF in 2020 in May. I'm one of the co-founder of the China IGF, and we have Ms. Pei Wei. You can see in this slide. She's another co-founder of the China IGF, and Mr. Zhong Rui I will show you in the following slide. So what are we doing? Our tasks are, first of all, to promote multi-stakeholder-based participation and collaboration on internet governance issues and on internet policy side. And we also conduct international exchanges and cooperation. We participate to the global internet governance processes, mainly to the UN and the process here, the Pacific IGF, which is a great one among all the local and regional IGF. And number three, we focus on local priority internet governance issues. Like domestically, we are facing a lot of regulation issue and coordination issue with regard to the internet governance. And we also deliver our voices and deliver the voices of Chinese community to the global internet community. We participate in the UN IGF and its processing. So the leadership of the China IGF. Now we have a committee. We have a committee, China IGF committee, and also we have a China IGF MAG, which is a China IGF multi-stakeholder advisory group, which is very similar to the UN IGF's MAG. So Mr. Gao Xinmin, who is the chair of China IGF MAG, and Mr. Huang Chengqing, who is the former president of the CINSER, who is now the chair of the IGF committee, and who is now also a vice president of Internet Society of China. And Ms. Zhang Xiao, she is from CNIC. She is the deputy director general of CNIC and also serves as the vice chair of the China IGF. And she is currently a member of the UN IGF MAG. So next is me and Zhong Rui. Mr. Zhong Rui is the Secretary General of the China IGF Secretariat. And mainly he lead a team, also including me, to coordinate daily issues of the China IGF. And me personally, I do some support work to the previous leaders and also Mr. Zhong Rui. But my main work, daily work, is at the China ICT, China Academy of ICT. And I'll give you some highlights of China IGF. And we organize a lot of workshops related to internet governance issues, whether it is in Beijing or other part of China. And we organize workshops in a big internet conference or a local internet conference within China. And workshop themes, I believe, is including child online protection and digital inclusion, data governance, and information accessibility. And we also organize workshops within the UN IGF during the UN IGF meetings week. And we also contribute a lot to the international fora like UN IGF and other related internet meetings. We have, as I told you that we have a multi-stakeholder advisory group, which includes experts from different sectors, like from university and from the industry, and also from some think tank. And those experts are about 35 persons. They also participate a lot of international and domestic meetings, and they represent China IGF to speak, to contribute. And also we conduct as many as we can to outreach to people, to have engagement to the community, different community. Like we organize some event in UNIGF and also perhaps in the WIC in China, World Internet Conference in China. And also we have a yearly based Internet Conference of China and other local industry, internet industry conference. We may acquire a booth to show to the audience and participants what is all about, what is about the China IGF. So this slide shows you how we participate in the UN IGF related events. We participated the IGF national and regional IGF meetings. We join the talks and to share our activities to other participants. And also we have Ms. Zhang Xiao, who is currently the member of IGF, UN IGF MAG. And we previously, actually, we have several others people from government or from industry or from academic society. Previously, they were the members of the UN IGF MAG. So they joined the conversation, joined the consultation of the MAG a lot to set up the agenda of the annual UN IGF, and also the logistics of how to organize the UN IGF workshops, the rules, the procedures for all of the multi-stakeholder to apply for the opportunity of organizing workshops in UNIGF. And also we join the meetings of IGF national and regional IGF initiatives, and we speak. As you can see, Mr. Zhong Rui is speaking here. And also, this year is quite a hot process and quite important process that is the GDC, Global Digital Compact, which is proposed by the UN Secretary General, I believe, or UN, United Nations. It's about the initiative about how to govern the internet governance or digital governance. So last year and this year we talked about this process and the issues related to the papers and the GDC a lot, and we also share our different views among the members of the China IGF, and we produce our input to the Global Digital Compact, which is I think is effort from the China IGF to the GDC process, and we are continuing this effort this year. Maybe I think perhaps this GDC will be held this year, perhaps this year August. And also we try to produce some input to the IGF P9. I say P9, which is a policy network on the artificial intelligence. P9, we have a leading expert who is the associate professor from the China Normal University, Ms. Qian Yiqin, who is leading this effort. And actually, he is one of the leading persons in this in this effort. And also, I think artificial intelligence is very important attract all of the attentions from industry and also academic world, and also from the government perspective. So we, we have now we have a lot of internet artificial intelligence startups and big companies operating AI services in China, and we also want to contribute to the global internet artificial intelligence conversation, and also we share this international process back to Chinese community to let them know what is happening, what is going on in the UN and in the global process. And we also produce some perhaps input to the AI advisory body, which is a body related to the United Nations. We have our community effort to input to this AI advisory body. As the title show you, that China IGF input to the governing AI for humanity, which is maybe one of the topics. So we have other inputs to other topics. And this shows you we organize international seminar. One of these is the global initiative on data security. It was, I think, organized 2 years ago. It was an international seminar on the subject of seizing digital opportunities for cooperation and development. We organized that, and we also have perhaps other international seminars to organize in the past 4 years. And we every year, like Pacific IGF, like you, we organize the annual China IGF meeting since 2020. But as you may know that 2020 is the beginning year of the COVID-19. So we organize our meetings online. So we have also invited UN Deputy Secretary General and people from around the world and locally in China, and our own China IGF MAC members to speak, to share views on a variety of topics related to internet governance and also digital cooperation. And last year we began the effort of the physical meeting, like this this right and below that this picture shows you we have our physical meeting last year. So to calculate the number, we have in the past around 4 years, we have organized a lot of events. We have salons, some informal exchange of views occasion like 30 plus, and we have been taking some training for more than 1,000, and we organize a lot of workshops online and in person, and we connected to other organizations or other community or other society, which is 10,000 plus. So we won some awards like this. We awarded as outstanding case of jointly building a community with a shared future in cyberspace in 2023 in the World Internet Conference. Ms. Zhang Xiao was representing China IGF to show the case of China IGF, which is a big, I think, big honor for the whole China IGF's member and the secretariat. And that's all about I want to give you about the China IGF activity. The last one is perhaps the sign, the identifier of this China IGF. This is the sign of Internet Governance Forum of China IGF. So as you may see that we have a lot of Chinese culture elements in this. Actually, I was leading a small team to design this sign. As you may see that there's a panda over there. So panda is a kind of representing China, especially Sichuan in China. It's a very cute animal. And as you may see, the English word China, which is conducted by the Chinese calligraphy. We call it the Chinese pen, Chinese 毛笔, which is hair pen, Chinese hair pen. Chinese hair pen, the hair is whether perhaps it is made from rabbit or sheep or even wool. The Chinese style of way of calligraphy, the Chinese stroke. All the strokes are conducted by the Chinese 毛笔. So actually, I asked my father to conduct the China stroke, because my father, who is really love to write Chinese calligraphy. And as you may see, the China, in the middle eye, which is like a seal in China, like a seal. In the middle, there's two characters, which is 中国, means China, and those characters are traditional Chinese. So I think this is what I want to show you. And I really enjoyed this 2 days meeting, and hope this Pacific IGF a whole success. Thank you very much.
What about another round of applause for Andrew, all the way from China, to present the China IGF to us here in the back IGF. So now we come to the question time. We have Mele presenting the digital inclusion and capacity building. And then we have Nancy, if you can make your way up here so that they can see you and they ask their questions and for you guys to answer it. Mele, please. I only have one question for you, but then I'll leave it to the audience. Yeah, come to the front. Yeah. As you see that this session is about a digital transformation in the Pacific. And if you hear this morning, the journey that the Bikai Sok and the Bikai Net went through, it was really interesting to see that in the Pacific. Failure is part of life. You know, failing projects part of life in anything we do, but we learned. Same as the digital transformation. You know, we fall, we stand up, we fall, we stand up, but it keeps moving. And that's why we are here, because we learned from the last 10, 20, 30 years, we learned from the best, and that's why we come and we're still striving. Not stopping, but we strive for our Pacific community. So hence we have our beautiful fellows here. They are all both back IGF fellows for this year. And I have a question for Mele. It's about the capacity building and digital inclusion that Tonga, or the tweets, have been doing in Tonga. Have you done any evaluations of the methods or the approaches that you've been doing in your capacity building events so far? Yep.
Thank you for the question. I think for that question, I'll pass it on to Dr. Tankina Steen, so she can answer your question. Also, Tankina, she's one of our board members.
Thank you, Mele, for doping me in. As a board member of TWIT, I'm really proud to be here to represent the TWIT board. I think I'm the only board member here. So you were asking about the evaluation of because the TWIT has had a lot of activities right throughout the year itself. We are going back in time for the results to be shown to us as board members. So yes, every time that they're having an activity, there is a feedback form in there, for us to evaluate and have a look at those. I think Mele was also pointing out the fact that there is the challenge for us, because with all of those activities that we do in Tonga itself for improving digital literacy itself is funded by different people. So there is no single funder that we can rely on. So if there is going to be, say, for example, the camp for women in STEM, we had to look for funding. We had to look for a number of funders, to sort of fund the different activities that we are having. Even the last activity that we had, it was to do with improving the digital literacy of teachers. We also have to go out and ask the government for funding. Unfortunately, the government don't have the money, so we have to ask for donors. In Tonga itself, it's Chinese, the Japanese, the Australian and the New Zealanders, and also the US. Thank God some of our funding come from Australia and New Zealand, most of them. But because we are non-for-profit organization, and we are doing fantastic work in Tonga in trying to sort of change, like the mindset of older people, as well as bringing in the young people who are digital natives. The difficulty of trying to knock on the doors and getting money for funding. We just had what we call a STEAM Princess camp, and to run a camp, a residential camp itself, is quite expensive for all of our people, But we tend to have a bit of money, and we run those camp itself, so. The evaluation, if you are interested, we'll send it hopefully, by the end of September. All our evaluation from the different projects are coming in together so that we can see our future plan. But if there is anybody here who is a donor and has got deep pockets of money, we are interested in having a lunch or dinner with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Yeah. Can you pass the mic?
This is also for Tonga Women's ICT Group. Fantastic work. What can we do to help you do 10 times more? But maybe 100 times more. What can we do? Sorry, I must repeat the question so it's on record. So I'm really impressed by what you do. It's fantastic work, fantastic, absolutely. My question is, what can we do to help you do 100 times more?
I think, as I said, if the money is there, we can, maybe, it's not really a joke, because if you have money, you can plan. You can plan about 5 years ahead or anything like that. But because you're only planning for 3 months of the time that you're funded for that particular project, you tend to be looking at short term instead of long term. So I think the money. The other thing that we did find out is the shortage of staff. As Mele was saying, it's only 2 full-time staff. And, I've just been notified that the Princess of Tonga is also coming next Monday to visit the headquarters, of ICT. So we rent a place in a church in Tonga because it's cheaper, the rent is cheaper. We basically have to ask for money for the funding of those areas. We also have a training area that is limited to about 20. And because I also work at the university as the Vice Chancellor for the Tonga National University, which is a new entity in Tonga, normally when it's over 20, I just get them to come and use the university premises for that. And I think one of the things that came from there is lack of staff. If you're running STEAM Princess camp for 100 kids, you know, from about 9 to 15 or something like that, you know. It takes a lot of people to come in and volunteer their time. So we go out there begging for people to come and just do volunteer, give them a bit of food in the evening or something like that, you know. But we can't really pay them money. So money, I think, expertise, having the time to plan long-term instead of just, you know, within 2 or 3 months of those projects. So we are looking short-term all the time, and there is nothing, you know, and when the funding comes, it's only coming in to do a particular thing that you have to report to, you know, and it doesn't necessarily fit the whole governance thing, you know, of having to try to improve the number of people that is IT savvy, you know, in high school. So, and as Mele was saying, it ranges. You know, we started with teenage people, but then the people in the community want one. So we need to also go out and asking for fund for community itself, you know. So if we're gonna be covering the whole age group, then, yeah, money is the thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Yeah, we have one question from Russell.
Thank you. My name is Russell Decker. I'm a CCTLD manager of .pg, and also I'm a director of PNG University of Technology. I have several questions about this capacity building, but in this stage, not this area. So I have one simple question about the DX, this digital transformation. How many Pacific countries already applied visa, tourist visa by online? Like for example, I have a Japanese passport to apply New Zealand visa within I think 2 to 3 minutes approved, and then I can come visit here. But many Pacific countries, include our country PNG, it takes very long time. For example, my working visa, still I'm waiting 3 months over. Thank you. So how many other Pacific countries, if I have a PNG passport, want to travel to Tonga, how soon we can do it? Difficult question.
That's a difficult question because you're asking for you're asking for a system that for our Pacific countries that in terms of uploading your work visa. But I give it to Andrew to assist with that.
Thank you, Russell. I think Andrew, I think we're getting there. I think I want to let you know that Vanuatu visas are now online. If you want to apply for a visa, you can get online. We just had that in a launch last month. So I think the Pacific is moving in that direction. Thank you.
A question.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity and to our Tongan neighboring country. I have a question for you, please.
Can you please state your name, please?
Sorry, Beta Mawai from NUS Samoa, National University of Samoa. Yes, and the question is, with such a wide range of activities and initiatives, challenges, you know, that ICT Tongan always face, I may say, especially with the financial challenges, and also considering the South Pacific region, and I may say that I can clearly relate to the challenges that ICT Tongan also experiencing. The question is, what strategies have been implemented to secure sustainable funding? What are some of the strategies that you have done to secure these sustainable funding?
I think it's overall it's really difficult to get sustainable funding without a track record. So that is exactly what we are doing now, is having that track record that we can do things, we can make a change, we can make a difference, we can make the transformative digital movement that we need to have. And having that track record itself, then funders and also the government will start believing in our capacity to try to do this in Tonga. So I think like everything else with any project, if I give you money for the project and you fail to deliver the outcomes and deliverables itself, then I'm not going to be confident in giving you another pocket of money. So, trying to build that up, and I think the fact that we are doing a whole lot of those are basically to do with the demands from the public, rather than us having just to sit there and say, oh, I think they need to have one. It's the demands from the public, and especially the young people of Tonga now, wanting to sort of have that. By the way, in order to access the internet in Tonga, they use their phone, and there are more women using the phone than men. Apparently, men will have to find the money to buy the women their phone. So I think that's a good thing to do. And trying to sort of get a strategy going is just basically what we as board members will have to look at looking strategically in the future of how many people that we're going to be training, from one year to another, and making sure that we're going to consolidate that and asking, based on those demands and the evidence that we have had, and having young people who are coming in to witness, or give a testimony of what they have learned. I think that would be something that will push the government and also the funding bodies itself, to sort of give us some more money and trying to establish a sustainable way of us having to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have two more questions for Mele, and then we have questions for Nancy, because we have 10 more minutes before we go for afternoon break. So, Letitia, and then Astosh.
This is not a question, but I think just to add on to what the response before about the challenges. I think one of the challenges, my name is Letitia from Solomon Islands, and part of the Women in ICT Solomons. One of the challenges we face at the Solomon Islands is also writing up concept notes to give to donors. So it's not just skills on ICT training, but also the writing skills, reporting skills, as well as confidence and presentation to our public like this. Those are some of the skills that even within the ICT women group, we need to train them on. So that's one of the challenges we face as well. Looking for mentors who can help us in that space as well. Thank you.
Thanks. Astosh?
Hi. My name is Ashutosh. Okay, I'm from Fiji. First of all, a big congratulations to the women in ICT in Tonga. I think it's a very good effort. Okay, my question is, since IT is a very male-dominated area, right? I mean, what challenges did the women in ICT in Tonga face? I mean, like, do you have challenge where girls, you need to encourage them to come into IT, or it's already there, the technology is there that excites them to join in? And do you have like programs specifically for women which encourages them to, okay, I mean, this is the path I want to take for IT?
I didn't even know that I'm going to be here, and I filled a lot of the questions. Yes, you were looking at programs. Of course, the university offer formal programs for those people who are in Form 7 and going on to do a degree in ICT. So we offer a certificate and also diploma and also a degree together with another university. That's the formal education. In terms of, the gender, whether there is going to be a gender issue to do with the ICT, I think Tonga is very fortunate that we don't have those demarcation between ICT. Although Andrew here from the government and e-government of Tonga may probably be having to answer to the fact that there is a lot more men in his department than females. But I think the Tonga women in ICT was basically formed because, as Mele was saying, women in ICT having coffee and understanding that there is a need, local need for women to come together, because they would have the same qualification as men, but men has been picked, to have to work in ICT, because of hardware issues or software, or perhaps they know more about the technology jargon or anything like that to do with networking and cyberspace and security and all of those. But because it was a need to sort of making sure that our young women who are coming after us, is going to be technological savvy with their knowledge of ICT, and also to encourage them to take on the development, ICT, whether it's development of apps or things like that, But it was, established to bring in the women. And I think the men now are feeling really uncomfortable in Tonga, because the women are now have advertised for all of these things, and then the young boys will say, how about us? Can't we join the STEAM princess camp? No, you can't. You are not, because you are not a princess. But, it's that sort of momentum in the change itself, that is looking for women. But I think Andrew ought to also answer about whether there is a demarcation in Tonga about the gender divide to do with ICT. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm putting him on the spot too.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Toimona. I'm the Director for Digital Transformation for Government of Tonga. And I'm just sitting here and listening to what the deliberation is all about, and very interesting. One thing that I like to set the record straight, I think one of the biggest problem is that NGOs and organizations like Women in ICT, there's a little bit of disconnection between them and the government. And what I mean by that is that the government have a lot of projects going on, and some of the components of the projects may need to utilize the capacity of NGOs and organizations like Women in ICT. But because there's not much information that we get from them, they don't apply when we put up the bid online as part of the procurement. So they kind of lose out. But there are some that like, I think Andrew knows about that they come straight to Women in ICT. But I think if we can establish that connection, it will be something that the government can also help from our side. As far as the concern about the women in the industry, the problem is women kind of lose interest when they go up to more technical, like programming, developers and stuff like that. They're very good in high school, and when they go up with the high school. When they go up to university level, they kind of lose interest. They're probably looking at other areas that making more money, business and stuff like that. When we advertise our jobs, we wanted to have like developers. We wanted to have, women that can do cybersecurity. But unfortunately, only a few qualify in that specific area. We have Scout in I don't know about USP and other universities, but there is an evidence that a lot of people are not going into technical fields, and we kind of think because they have issue with math. There's a lot of them are going into arts programs. So it is an issue that we notify from, notice from the government side. We're doing our best to try to attract more people. What we have noticed at the school level, there's a lot of female graduates. They're more than the male graduates from high school. But then the different interest when they go to college, when they go to university, then there's a demarcation there. They pick other attractive programs to pursue. But we are welcome if there are female who wants to join the team. We've been looking for people. We're not discriminate them because of their sex. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. We have one more question because we run out of time. Maureen?
Thank you very much, Sarai and Andrew, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Maureen Hilliard. I'm actually here sort of like representing the board of trustees of the Internet Society. And I've just taken on board what the gentleman who just spoke before me. I work in the area of project development in the Cook Islands. And there are heaps of projects going on across the Pacific. One of the things I think is really important is if you find out there's a project available, is to get in there and find out where the gender component is of that project. Every project is supposed to have some kind of gender component, and sometimes it isn't actually emphasised enough. And it's great that it was raised today. So, I think this is one part of putting, ensuring that women are involved in the development of your country and through the projects that are actually taking place. But what I really wanted to raise was that PICISOC as an Internet Society organisation is entitled to apply for funding through the Pacific, through the foundation, through the ISOC Foundation. Seeing the rising sort of like trend of women in ICT, which has been long term, if you put forward a proposal that reached across the Pacific and really encouraged and I know there are women in ICT groups in a lot of the different islands anyway, but I think that a major project across that PICISOC actually ran this would be beneficial to all the groups of women within the Pacific. So I just sort of put that forward. Thanks.
So, thank you, Andrew from PICISOC and Pacific AGF. I just wanted to maybe say a few words on what was discussed here. So we have had a lot of these groupings around the countries. We have, excuse me, in Vanuatu we have this, and we have the Smart Sisters Program initiative. You can find that on the Facebook page. We have Tonga, we have Solomon and Samoa. But in response to what Maureen said about PICISOC, finding opportunities, we have done that in the last, since last year and this year. And we have got the support of the CAID and European Union that included funding, partial funding for Pacific AGF, women in IST in Tonga and Solomon Islands. So this is the first phase, and then they're going to run for 2 years, 25 and 26. So there is something that PICISOC has done that is coming to fruition, and I believe that can be a lesson learned for others who are interested to support such initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that. Any questions for the data governance framework before we break for afternoon tea? Otherwise, you have plenty of time to ask this beautiful woman with their presentation. They presented. Oh, do you have a question? Okay.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sioli Tonga from the Pacific Data Hub team at SPC. A question for Nancy. First of all, congratulations on the work you're doing. It's really impressive, the comprehensive approach you've taken to strengthening data governance for PNG. I'm interested if you can share with us any examples or anecdotes about applying that cultural lens to build trust, to help with the adoption of your data governance policies and framework.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
You mentioned applying a cultural approach in developing your data governance framework. That's really intriguing and really interested in understanding how you may have done it, or some examples of how that's worked for you, or some of the challenges around applying a cultural lens to developing a data governance framework.
Yep. Okay. That was actually the maturity, the data governance maturity level that we use to assess the level of data governance across the public sector. So because we came to understand that data governance is a very new agenda for public sector, and also there has been a lot of department that kind of don't understand the value of data. So we kind of do duplicate work. The same data that is collected probably by the Department of Health is collected by education. So what we do is, what we came to realize in most of the case studies is that there is no interoperability among systems for data to be joined and sharing of the same data. So while we have different government departments collecting same data, the finding is keep wasting on same work, and we have data that are duplicate among all the government departments. So we have worked with consultants, and we came to understand that what they think is we are same like them. So we want something that is for PNG, that contextualize how we live, our culture, and our regulatory framework, legal system too. So in with that, we decided, first we said that they argued that it's supposed to be the policy that we were making, drafting was supposed to be data protection and governance. But we have nothing in place for protection yet. So we decided that we need to fix our backyard within the government system. We need to have some guidelines, standards. That's governance in place before we started putting protection. That's how we came to have data governance and data protection, and not data protection. Because if it were to go to data protection, it would only suit them and not us. For a developing country, we believe data governance should come first and not protection. And also, it also solves a lot of problems that we're having in regard to decision making, because we have data that have been used for 2-3 years that have been used by government to plan for next year. So we found that still it's not enough. Like the population, we don't have proper data in place because there is no interoperability of system. There is no one platform, a portal that all data is there. That's how we came to have data governance, data protection initiative across whole of government approach.
Thanks, Nick.
Also with that, I just want to ask, I'm not really sure if the Pacific Islands do have any national data protection policies in place or act that, it also part of my role that I would like to know, because eventually we'll be having cross-border data among us. So I just want to know if there's any Solomon Island, Tonga, Fiji, Vanuatu, is there any act or national policies that you already have? I would love to know.
Sorry. From Tonga, yes, we do have a bill that right now has been drafted and going through, going through to Parliament. on the data protection, and we're also working on a framework for data governance at the moment. So yeah, it's coming.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, thank you very much. Can you give another round of applause for our speakers and all of us here? Thank you. So we're going for a 30 minutes break of afternoon tea, and then we come back here for another session. Thank you very much.